Some mysteries seem to challenge all logic. Even after investigations, analyses, and millions of people trying to find answers, certain stories simply remain unexplained. The case of Elisa Lam is exactly like that. A young tourist disappears inside a hotel full of cameras, guests, and employees, and no one can explain how it happened. But then a video recorded inside an elevator appears. A video so strange, so disturbing, that to this day people around the world keep watching it over and over again, trying to understand one single thing: what was Elisa Lam seeing at that moment? In the footage, she enters the elevator, presses several buttons, looks into the hallway as if she's hiding from someone, and begins to act in a way that no one has been able to fully explain. There is no one visible in the video. No person appears behind her. And yet her behavior raises a chilling question: was Elisa truly alone in that elevator, or was there something there that the cameras couldn't capture? This video quickly became one of the most disturbing recordings ever analyzed on the internet. Investigators, specialists, and millions of curious viewers began examining every second of the footage. But the more the video was analyzed, the more questions appeared. And when the truth about what happened days later was finally discovered, the mystery became even harder to explain. The young traveler who disappeared in a hotel full of mysteries. Some stories begin so normally that no one imagines they will turn into one of the internet's greatest mysteries. In 2013, a young woman named Elisa Lam arrived in Los Angeles with the spirit of someone who wanted to explore the world. Backpack on her shoulders, dreams in her mind, and a camera ready to record every moment of the trip. She wrote in a personal blog, reflected about life, and shared her thoughts online. But one question remains to this day: at what moment did a simple trip turn into something completely inexplicable? Elisa chose to stay in a place many tourists pick because it's affordable and centrally located, the famous Cecil Hotel. At first glance, it looked like just another old building in downtown Los Angeles. But anyone familiar with its past knew the place carried a disturbing history. Over the decades, the hotel had been the setting of crimes, suicides, and strange events that many locals preferred not to talk about. Did Elisa know this history when she chose the hotel? Or was it simply another stop on her journey? During the first days, everything seemed normal. Elisa visited places around the city, stayed in touch with family, and continued writing about her experiences. Nothing seemed unusual. But suddenly, she vanished. No messages. No calls. No updates. How can someone disappear like that inside a hotel full of people? Did anyone see her for the last time? Or was something strange already happening inside that building without anyone realizing it? The disappearance that no one could explain. When Elisa Lam stopped replying to messages, her family's first reaction was to assume something simple had happened. Maybe her phone battery had died. Maybe she was traveling to another city. Maybe she was simply busy exploring Los Angeles. But as hours turned into days, concern began to grow. How does someone who usually keeps regular contact suddenly disappear without leaving any trace? And even more disturbing, why did no one in the hotel seem to know anything? Hotel employees began to be questioned. Guests were also asked if they had seen her. Some remembered seeing Elisa walking through the corridors during the first days of her stay, apparently calm and quiet. Others only remembered a young traveler who mostly kept to herself. But no one was able to identify the exact last moment she had been seen. This left investigators facing an unsettling question: how can someone disappear inside a hotel filled with cameras, guests, and employees, without anyone noticing anything? As the days passed, the police decided to begin a search inside the Cecil Hotel itself. Corridors were inspected. Rooms were checked. Employees were questioned again. Even so, no clear clue appeared. It was almost as if Elisa had simply vanished. But then, when investigators decided to review the hotel's security cameras, they discovered something unexpected. A short video recorded inside one of the hotel elevators that would raise far more questions than answers. The elevator video that disturbed millions. Days after Elisa Lam disappeared, investigators made an important decision: to review all the security footage inside the Cecil Hotel. It seemed almost impossible for someone to disappear inside a building full of cameras without leaving some kind of trace. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. But when investigators found a video recorded inside one of the elevators, they realized this was not an ordinary disappearance. In fact, what appeared in that footage raised a question that remains unanswered to this day: what exactly was Elisa seeing inside that elevator? In the video, Elisa enters the elevator and begins acting in a very unusual way. She presses multiple buttons quickly, almost as if she is trying to select every floor at once. Then she moves to a corner, as if she is hiding from someone. Moments later she steps outside the elevator, looks down the hallway, and then returns inside again. Her movements appear confused, almost as if she is interacting with someone, but no one else appears in the footage. Even stranger, the elevator doors refuse to close for most of the video. They remain open far longer than they normally should. As if something is preventing the mechanism from working properly. Eventually, Elisa leaves the elevator and disappears into the hallway, and that is the last time she is ever seen alive. When the police released this footage to the public, something unexpected happened. Millions of people began analyzing every second of the video, trying to understand what was happening in that moment. The discovery that shocked hotel guests. While the investigation continued, something unusual began happening inside the Cecil Hotel. Several guests started complaining about a strange problem. The water in their rooms had an unusual color, sometimes darker than normal, sometimes with a strange metallic taste. Some people even reported that the water had an unpleasant smell. At first, it seemed like a simple plumbing issue in an old building. But no one imagined that these complaints would lead to a disturbing discovery. Hotel employees were sent to the rooftop to inspect the large water tanks that supplied the entire building. These tanks were massive and located in a quiet, rarely visited area of the hotel. It was an isolated place, far from the movement of guests and daily activity. When one employee climbed up there to inspect the tanks, he probably expected to find a simple technical problem. Maybe a leak, maybe debris inside the water. But what he discovered inside one of those tanks would change the entire investigation. Inside the water tank, the body of Elisa Lam was found. The discovery shocked everyone involved. But instead of answering questions, it created even more. How did she get onto the roof? How did she enter the tank? And how did no one notice anything before? From that moment on, the case stopped being just a disappearance, and became one of the most debated mysteries on the internet. The theories that divided the world. When the news spread, the case of Elisa Lam quickly became one of the most discussed mysteries on the internet. Millions of people began analyzing every detail: the elevator footage, the history of the hotel, and Elisa's behavior before she disappeared. And the more people observed, the more theories began to appear. Some tried to explain the case in a rational way. Others went much deeper into darker possibilities. But the main question continued echoing everywhere: what really happened that night inside the Cecil Hotel? One of the first theories suggested that Elisa might have been experiencing a psychological episode. Some reports indicated that she had dealt with mental health challenges and was taking medication. Could that explain the unusual movements inside the elevator? Perhaps she was disoriented, frightened, or trying to escape from something that wasn't actually there. For some investigators, this explanation seemed possible. But then another difficult question appears: even if she was disoriented, how did she manage to reach the rooftop and enter a water tank that was so difficult to access? And this is exactly where the theories began to become even more unsettling. Some people believe another person might have been involved. Others point toward the dark history of the Cecil Hotel itself. Some observers say Elisa's behavior in the elevator looks like someone reacting to another presence nearby. Could someone have been standing just outside the camera's angle? Or is there something in that video that people still haven't noticed? The truth is that even years later, no explanation has convinced everyone who has studied this case. The rooftop mystery that no one can explain. When investigators started analyzing the rooftop area of the Cecil Hotel, new questions immediately appeared. Access to the roof was not simple. To reach the water tanks, someone would normally need to pass through locked doors and restricted areas. There were also alarms designed to alert staff if someone entered that section of the building. Which leads to one of the most puzzling questions in the entire case: if Elisa reached the roof alone, why was no alarm ever triggered that night? Another detail made the situation even more confusing. The water tanks themselves were massive and had heavy metal lids. Opening them was not easy, especially in the middle of the night. Climbing inside them would have required both strength and coordination. This raises an unavoidable question: how could someone in a confused or frightened state manage to climb onto the tank, open the lid, and enter it, without anyone noticing anything? And there is one more detail that investigators struggled to explain. The elevator footage was recorded on a floor far below the rooftop. To reach the tanks, Elisa would have needed to walk through hallways, staircases, and restricted areas. That means that after the moment captured in the elevator video, she somehow made her way through the hotel without being recorded again. But why? Was she running from someone? Was she following someone? Or was she trying to escape from something she believed was real? The Internet investigation. After the elevator video was released, something unexpected happened. Millions of people around the world began investigating the case on their own. Online forums, YouTube channels, and amateur investigators started analyzing every second of the footage. Frame by frame. Some observers pointed out Elisa's nervous movements and the way she repeatedly looks into the hallway. For them, it seemed like the behavior of someone trying to avoid another person. But if that were true, why does no one else appear in the video? Some viewers suggested that someone might have been standing outside the camera's angle. Others believed Elisa might have been reacting to something that only she could perceive at that moment. The mystery only grew deeper as more people joined the discussion. Every new analysis seemed to create more questions rather than answers. As the video spread across the internet, it became one of the most analyzed pieces of footage in online history. Millions of people watched it repeatedly, trying to understand the strange sequence of events inside that elevator. But the more people examined the video, the more unsettling it seemed. The strange coincidence that caught people's attention. During the intense online discussions surrounding the case, some internet users began searching for unusual connections. One detail quickly gained attention. Around the same time Elisa Lam's story became widely known, a tuberculosis test used in Los Angeles had a name that surprised many people: Lam Elisa. For many observers online, the similarity between the test name and Elisa Lam's name seemed like an eerie coincidence. Of course, scientists quickly explained that the name came from medical terminology used in laboratory testing. Still, for people already deeply invested in the mystery, the coincidence felt unsettling. Was it simply a strange coincidence, or just another example of how the human mind searches for patterns when faced with an unsolved mystery? These types of discoveries only fueled even more discussions online. People around the world spent hours analyzing every possible detail connected to the case. But the more connections people tried to make, the more complex the mystery appeared. The official verdict that did not convince everyone. After months of investigation, forensic analysis, and interviews with hotel employees, authorities eventually released an official conclusion regarding the case of Elisa Lam. According to the reports published by investigators, there were no clear signs of violence or struggle on Elisa's body. The official cause of death was determined to be accidental drowning. For some people, this explanation seemed to close the case. But for many others, it only raised more questions. If the incident was truly an accident, how did Elisa manage to reach the rooftop without triggering any alarms? How did she open the heavy lid of the water tank by herself? And why did her behavior in the elevator video appear so frightened and confused? Many independent researchers and observers began examining these details more carefully. And the more they analyzed the evidence, the harder it became for some people to accept that everything was simply a tragic accident. This is exactly why the case never completely disappeared from public attention. Even years later, millions of people continue watching the elevator video, discussing theories, and trying to find answers. Because deep down, many feel that there may still be something about this story that has never been fully explained. A mystery that may never be solved. Even today, the case of Elisa Lam remains one of the most analyzed mysteries on the internet. Videos, documentaries, podcasts, and independent investigations continue revisiting the story. The elevator footage is still studied frame by people hoping to notice something others may have missed. Some believe the tragedy may have been the result of a series of unfortunate events, confusion, fear, and a sequence of decisions that led Elisa to the rooftop that night. Others believe there may still be missing pieces in the story. After all, how did no one see her reach the roof? How did she manage to enter the water tank? And why does the elevator footage still leave such an unsettling impression on those who watch it? Perhaps that is exactly what makes this case so haunting. Some mysteries seem to refuse simple answers. And as long as questions remain, people will continue searching for the truth. The case of Elisa Lam continues to be one of the most puzzling mysteries of the modern internet era. Even after official investigations and detailed reports, many questions remain unanswered. The elevator video is still watched and analyzed by millions of people around the world. Some believe it was a tragic accident. Others feel there may still be unexplained details hidden within the story. But now I want to hear from you. After watching the elevator footage, what do you think was happening in that moment? Do you believe Elisa was running from someone? Do you think she may have been confused or frightened? Or do you believe there is something about this case that still hasn't been discovered? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Different perspectives often reveal details that others may not have noticed. And if you enjoy real mysteries like this one, stories filled with investigation, unanswered questions, and strange events, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because here we continue exploring some of the most intriguing mysteries in the world, and who knows, the next story might reveal another secret that has been hidden for years.